And I don't know if today she will recall that one time I walked her down the College of Education route to Code. We were going for a lecture. And I told her, Vera, I want you to be my vice president for SRC. By then, the vision of a hall has not come to play.
In level 100.
That was when I proposed to her. It's leadership till our last breath.
The Young Changemakers Africa Show is proudly sponsored by
On our very first episode on the Young Changemakers Africa Show, we speak to an industrious young leader whose journey into student leadership has been nothing but inspiring. We are here to speak with Samuel Kwabena Adotei, the 59th SRC President of the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. I'm Kent Bedu, and I'm your host for this episode. Welcome to the Young Changemakers Africa Show, Mr. President. Can you please introduce yourself to our viewers and then let us know a little bit about you?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think I must say that I'm honored to be in this show. So as you rightly said, my name is Samuel Kwabena Adotei. Yeah, the SRC President for the University of Cape Coast. Then again, Samuel Kwabena Adotei is a gentleman that was raised somewhere in Accra, in a town called Abeka. I'm a passionate and a leader by conviction. When I say leader by conviction, what I'm trying to say is I only take mantles that I'm convinced in that I'll be able to do something. And the doing of the something is a legacy that will be social intensive or going to help the masses of colleagues or friends I may be leading. And I'm also a passionate and Christian. I'm a Presbyterian as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Samuel, fortunately for some of us, we were here on the campus and then saw your journey from the very early stages in terms of your journey into student leadership. For those of us who do not know, you were first the president for the Kwame Nkrumah Hall, in the University of Cape Coast before moving higher to the SRC president. During your campaign time for the Kwame Nkrumah Hall, even before then, what really inspired your journey to enter into student leadership? Because at that time, I believe you were in level 200, your second year of study. So what transpired or inspired your vision into student leadership even at that stage?
Well, I must say that the early days when I entered into Kwame Nkrumah Hall, that was when the inspiration got developed for student leadership at this particular level. I must say this, I've always been saying it in every show or interview I'm featured in. And one thing that inspired me most is the kind of crop of leaders I came to meet then in level 100. They were decent, they were noble, they were people up to task who took up responsibility even when, from my perspective as a student, I realized that it's some way, somehow, not in their terrain, but they took it up because it is students that are involved. So I got inspired by those crop of students, leaders that I came to meet, and then there's a part of Kwame Nkrumah Hall anthem that really inspires me a lot. And whenever I sing the Nkrumah Hall anthem, I feel this is me. It's talking about leadership, it's talking about ethics, it's talking about values, which I feel these are principles that I have all through my leadership terrains of every level I have abide with. So I got inspired by the anthem and then also the crop of leaders I came to meet.
During that time in Kwame Nkrumah Hall, you were just a second year student, and you were facing competition even from people in final level 300. Yes, I remember there were lots of people aspiring for the same portfolio. You were only in second year when you decided to go for the portfolio of the president. And you also had competitors who were in a higher level than yourself. At that point in time, did it dawn on you or come into mind that you are going against people who are in a higher level and you might just as well play your game safe and just be like a first timer, test the waters, and then move on to campaign for another term in a different year? Did your competition scare you in any way?
Yeah, so I must say that as a colleague, sometimes you do get scared by taking up huge risk.
Okay.
But for me, to be frank, before I went into the game,
The game of politics.
the game of politics,
Wow.
student politics,
Wow.
looking at where I was standing from, I always had this thought running through my mind,
Okay.
and it's a quote from Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
That is it always seemed impossible until it's done.
Okay.
So I got inspired by that particular quote, and I kept on saying to myself that the fact that someone has set off first in a race does not guarantee the person winning.
Wow.
Even though they had the expertise, they've been exposed to the terrain, but then I feel I am the competition.
Wow.
And everyone can attest to it that during those times that I came into the race, I was the competition. Everyone was relaxed because the two parties were both experienced, one being an executive, one who had run a race and had lost. And then there's one fact that people do not really know. I was in the camp of the other one who ran and lost.
Okay.
So I was involved some way, somehow,
Okay.
in the whole journey of another.
Mm-hmm.
But as I stated early on, I'm a leader by conviction. So if I'm not convinced about what I am putting my hands into, I don't.
Okay.
Or if I feel there's nothing valuable, there's nothing I can point out to be significant, to contribute as a quota to the development of a particular thing, I don't venture. So looking at the competition that was here and there, I told a couple of my friends that, see, I am coming to this race, even though I don't know the next minute of the agenda,
Okay.
but then I'm coming as a competition.
Okay.
And whoever will want to be in that competition will have to embrace him or herself to be able to go through that particular terrain.
Okay. 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 So you said you're a leader by conviction, right? What did you see in Kwame Nkrumah Hall that gave you that, how do I even put it, that first insight or first light that for this I think I can do better? As you said, you came and met a lot of great leaders in the hall who also, one way or the other, inspired your journey. But during that time when you decided to go for the leadership portfolio, what did you see that inspired you or give you that conviction that for this I believe I can do better, or this needs to be fixed, so when I come, this is why I'm coming?
Well, so coming into the whole terrain from level 100, I realized that, there are a lot of projects that the crop of leaders I came to meet were doing for us.
Okay.
And it was to tell us that there's leadership.
Okay.
And there were a lot of advocacies they were making on our behalf. But all through all these administration, there's one clear thing I found, that was the relationship with the followers,
Okay.
or the relationship with the athlete of the whole.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that it's something that if it's not well nursed, nurtured, it might not grow to become something very useful or something that can build a greater connection or network. So I realized that particular thing, and I just said to myself, I want to put myself to earth so that anyone I'm leading, anyone I have been made a leader by them over, I'll be able to have that great connection, that great bond with them, so that anytime they feel, no, this is our leader, but we are neck with the person, it becomes easy to approach. Those times, even though we came to meet a crop that were noble and were up to task, there's a vast gap between them and the people, because the students in my time felt they are not approachable. If you are not in their circle, you cannot get close. So some of us, we had to make conscious effort in drawing closer to them. And then the second thing was, maybe it may have been inspired by where I was coming from, how I was raised. And it was about me not seeing any social kind of social intensive projects or social intervention projects being done that can touch the life of the ordinary students in that particular space I found myself. So I was on the agenda that let us be able to touch every ordinary student's life, whether little, whether huge, and that kind of classes we have in even students, where we have students with special needs, and we have students who are like myself, who are able and can do anything. I realized, no, these people need to be given critical attention. And that was the second thing that also inspired me. And I felt on the particular blog I was sleeping on, having my mates way back in 2018 on the e-blog, I realized we had issues with the structure. So even in our rooms, we had issues with funds, we had like issues that should be able to be resolved.
I remember back then it was a big
challenge. Immediately you are entering a particular room, you don't even feel good to tell someone, this is the room I live in. So I had the idea that, well, why can't we embark on a physical developmental project, which can also we are not only looking at the sustenance of our colleagues and our fellows, we are looking at the other aspect that may not be well known to people, but has an effect on our colleagues, and that was where they sleep. So when I said, no, if I get a chance to serve my colleagues, which my colleagues gave me the nod, and I was privileged to do so, I said, no, I need to change where we sleep. And in changing it, it wasn't doing something so extraordinary, but making sure that the rooms are well kept in terms of the floor, the walls, the ventilation in the room. So in my time, I think history will judge us in the crop of people I said.
Sure. Fortunately, myself, I got to experience your term of office in the Nkrumah Hall, because I'm also an affiliate of the hall. Yes, and then as you said, social intervention, relationship between the leaders and followers, very, very important. And then infrastructural development. We saw during your time that you were able to do something concerning the floor of the rooms, and some funds as well. One of the things that you implemented during your time that I'd never seen since I got to the university was the food bank. I don't know if it existed before you came in, but it's something that I thought you implemented in style that really, really helped the students' populace. you even came into the SRC office and did a similar thing last semester, which really helped a lot of people. You spoke about the social intervention project, but what actually did you see in terms of the struggles of students to be able to implement such an intervention for them?
There's one key thing that I always look up to: the focus of my colleagues. What is our focus? We are in school, yeah. But you know, in terms of financial commitment, most of my folks may want to focus on getting their fees paid,
Okay.
and where they will sleep. For sustenance, is not really part of their thoughts. They get to meet the crisis. So I have met the crisis before, and I know how it feels when you call home for funds, and then they can send you a momo of 20 cedis with a charge of 1 cedi. So you go to the momo joint, I want to withdraw, and all you are withdrawing is 20 cedis.
If there's a lady beside you, then
you even feel ashamed to even go to the vendor and say, I'm withdrawing 20 cedis. And knowing that there are some of my folks also who the only time they get to even have access to money when they come to school is when they are leaving campus. That is the only time they are sent money. A lot of students go through crisis. And sometimes we don't really look at what is really making the academic performance of some students to look or to be seen on those paths. Sometimes it's because of sustenance. The vices on campus, the social vices on campus, are mostly steered by these challenges with sustenance, the crisis in feeding. So those were the pertinent issue I saw. I said, no, if I get a chance, this is a major, and that has always been my focus in terms of people that I am with. The first thing I look out for is how socially and in terms of welfare you are stable. If we get that done, we get the mind also to start working on ideas.
So it's really getting interesting, but we'll go on to talk about your journey into the SRC, right? But before then, guys, let us take a short break or a short word from our sponsors. When we do return, we have more for you.
The Young Change Makers Africa Show is proudly sponsored by
You're welcome back from the break. We wanted to say a big thanks to our sponsors or our sponsoring partners, Nimax Kitchen and Nimax Special Sobolo, right? We also want to thank toppeople.com and our media partners, EquiGH. Let's delve deep, Presto, into your journey into the bigger front of students' leadership, the SRC. At what point did you tell yourself, Kwabena, I need to go for this?
Well, for the SRC, I think immediately I took out the mantle of the hall. That was when the whole ideas started coming. Even I should say before, because I quite remember those times when I go to the library. I used to study at the College of Education library. And I have this blue notebook. I write everything, dated way back from level 100. So whenever I go and I'm studying, sometimes my thoughts begin to roam. And when it roams like that, the only thing that comes in mind is possible things that can be done in this university for students. So I started writing. And there's one fascinating aspect of the whole journey. When I was contesting for Nkrumah, and I planned it. From Nkrumah, I am going to the SRC.
Wow.
And I planned the whole thing in such a way that everything I wanted to do at the lower level was in alignment to the next level. And it's just a rebranding of that same thing, but in a manner that can suit the larger masses. So that was how I was looking at. So the inspiration came even before I started. And at a point in time, I told my colleagues that if I lose, I am not going for second coming. I am stepping higher. And they are like,
even
why? At that particular stage, I was telling them before the Nkrumah race. That is when people started coming up with their words of encouragement at the same time discouraging. And I was telling them, if you discourage me, I tell you, I'm running this race, and I know there's two things. The probability is just two things, and it will always sum up to one. So if it's not here, it is there. But if it's not here and it's there, then I'm not coming back. So I am putting myself in a particular position that climbing higher does not become a challenge. And then that is how come I had a whole idea of leading the SRC. But I did not know how it may happen.
So it's like you saw the end from the beginning.
Exactly.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. On the journey to the presidency of the SRC, definitely it's higher level. You were at the time still in office as Nkrumah Hall president. You were just ending your term of office, and you had to come up with all this and form a team to campaign for the higher level. You had almost 5 or 6 competitors. Because during your time of office and during your time of campaign, there were a lot of people vying for the SRC portfolio. You seem to me as somebody who is not lacking any confidence whenever you make up your mind. So what were some of the challenges during the time of your campaign for the SRC? What were some of the challenges you came across, and how did you manage your way through it?
Well, you see, one of the biggest challenges every leader first has to resolve is how we connect the dots of ideologies. Because the people we are working in a team with have different perspectives to issues, have different approaches to things. So my first challenge was, how do I break the barrier to get these people to work in alignment, to get people to believe in the vision, to get people to understand that the vision is not crafted by Kwabena, but is crafted by a team that is carrying Kwabena to a particular office. And in going about it, I started with those that I would say they are my folks. Started a conversation with them, getting them in a line. And then I got those that are above my folks, who I think with the expertise they have and then their intelligence, we can manage it too. And I always made them see the essence that we are not doing it for a team member. We are doing it for Kwabena. And doing it for Kwabena, we have contributed our quota to the student front. That was how I groomed my team before handing it over to a leader of the team, who is the manager. So before the manager, I had to set the pace for them to understand in the ideology before the manager carries the vision to that pedestal we want to get to.
That's wow, that's very deep. That's very, very deep. Concerning your challenges as well, you decided to merge two halls for your race? At the time, whenever we hear of XLC presidents, we get to know of other halls, Casford, ATL, SLC, what have you. But you decided to come from Nkrumah Hall and merge Nkrumah with Vaco Hall. What's influenced your decision to, at the time, pick or collaborate with the vice president of the Vaco, Ogwa Hall? Sorry, it's Ogwa Hall. The vice president of Ogwa Hall, to form this formidable team, because during the race, every student that's got to know the people on the ballot screen or the ballot sheet were fully convinced that you were the competition because of the team that you formed. How were you able to convince a traditional hall like Ogwa to be behind your vision?
Well, the journey was not as smooth as people may appreciate it now.
Okay.
But I quite remember way back in level 100.
Yeah.
My vice president is actually my program mate.
Okay.
So we sit in the same class.
Wow.
And so way back, level 100 first semester, we were in the same study group.
Okay.
So in level 100, I told her that, and she never believed it. And I don't know if today she will recall.
Okay.
That one time I walked her down the College of Education route to Code. We were going for a lecture.
Okay.
And I told her, Vera, I want you to be my vice president for SRC.
Wow.
By then, the vision of a hall has not come to play.
In level 100?
That was when I proposed to her.
In level 100?
Level 100.
Wow.
So I told her I want you to be my running mate for the SRC. I'll be going for SRC president.
Wow.
And by then too, she has not located herself in a race.
Okay.
She has not found a place in a race of becoming Ogwa vice president.
Wow.
So when it happened, yes, we had other options, but politically, we're looking at numbers.
Okay.
Because you can have the best idea, you can have the best vision, but without the right people, you may not be able to execute it. So charting the path in making a difference, we realize that politically, the hall that can help will be Ogwa Hall.
Okay.
And Ogwa Hall, looking through all the people, we had options, but we were convinced that Vera Tete, who is now the vice president of the SRC, is our best bet. And I think she has also proven that she was really the best bet. And I don't regret working with her. She's one fine, exuberant woman. Even if I had not won and any president had run with her, I believe that those qualities would have come to bear to help the SRC.
Wow, wow, wow. Interesting, interesting. I remember during that period, we did have a discussion on phone.
Sure.
We did have a discussion on phone, and I was asking you, what's your vision?
Sure.
What do you want to do for the students? But you told me a lot back then, and I have been someone who has been, our current president of the country will say, don't just be a spectator, right? So I have not necessarily been a spectator, but I've been watching with keen interest whatever you told me back then when we had a discussion and what is happening now. And I must say that, in fact, I'm very, very impressed with your tenure of office. And one of the things that every student is talking about now is the SRC data. The data, the talk time, because it had not been done before. And you came in and you brought it into existence. The social intervention you carried from the Nkrumah Hall to the SRC level, right? The food bank and other projects. What has been your biggest achievement so far for you as a president? Which of this achievement, I can mention a lot myself, but which one can you just point out and say, if I hadn't done this, my tenure of office wouldn't have been complete?
Well, so when it comes to achievements, most of the times I'm not able to really give a hands-on, because I tell you, some of the things we have done have even escaped my thoughts.
Okay.
I sometimes walk about and someone meets me and shake me and say, "Oh, bro, you got this," and I'm like, "Wow, I've even forgotten."
Oh.
But there's one thing I always pride in, and this particular thing is how I have been able to build that bond with my colleagues.
Oh.
That is my greatest achievement.
Wow.
Because one big challenge I saw from afar was communication and getting close to the people.
Yeah.
Looking at the numbers and looking at how the office run, how busy the office is, how busy you will be, you can be. But being able to keep the composure of relation is one of the wildest things I am proud of myself and my administration for us being able to do. Engaging students at every point in time, going to the diaspora, meeting our colleagues in the diaspora. They don't know, but those are the things that also put a smile on my face as their leader. And not the physical or the social intervention projects we have done for them.
You're a BEd Maths student,
Exactly.
combining this with academics. How has it been for you? And as well, what is next after SRC?
Well, so being a math student, I feel I've always fallen the shoulders of other colleagues.
Okay.
And I've always submitted to them. Irrespective of the seat I sit on, when I step out from the working area, I always appreciate my stand in the student population. I'm a student. So I've had some of my colleagues being of assistance. They are in my class. I've had some other group TAs being of help. In case I don't understand anything, I call them. They come either on a Zoom meeting, tutorials, or face-to-face. And that is how I've been able to combine the academics. And I always make time for my books. That one, regardless, no matter the work, I always make time. So I'm a dawn type of learner.
Okay.
So during the day, I give my time to SRC.
Okay.
And then other works. During the night, the dawn, I am all by myself, trying to get some books to read in order to build myself up, because that is the most important reason I'm here.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
There's a funny question. Is there money in SRC?
Well, there's money.
Okay.
But as in whether the money you are talking about is for me or is for projects is what I don't know.
Okay.
So there is money in SRC.
Fantastic. I think I'll keep it there. Samuel Kwabena Adotei, what is next for you? And what is your final word to any young person out there who wants to step into student leadership or student politics?
In terms of what is next after UCC SRC, I may not be able to say. But one particular thing I can assure my colleagues and every folk of mine is we are not stopping on the trajectory of student advocacy and leadership. So wherever I find myself, and I think looking at the value of the institution, looking at the value of the society, I can be able to do something, I'll take up the leadership mantle.
Wonderful.
So that is what is next. It's leadership till our last breath. So for young men like me or young colleagues like me, what I would say is, until we are able to step up, the narrative will not change.
Okay.
The ideas we have can shape the course of history. We should never think that we are too little. We should never think that our ideologies are not solid. We should never think the intels we receive, the intrinsic motivation that makes us or keeps us moving, is something that is needed to transform whatever thing has been a challenge. We carry the solution. So at every point in time, let's take up responsibility. And with our sense of responsibility, we can get it done. Again, it will always seem impossible until it's done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Approachable. Thank you for your time. Viewers, this brings us to the end of this episode. Catch us on our next episode, but don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and share the videos. Drop us your thoughts in the comment section, what you do think about this interview, and let us know who do you want us to capture next. Thank you.
The Young Changemakers Africa Show is proudly sponsored by
subscribe, like, and turn on your notification button to be notified of new episodes. It's the Young Changemakers Africa Show. See you.